is going on? Governor Chisgule here, and today we're going to talk about Cleopatra, who, by the way, just might have a role in Ark of Osiris League. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Cleopatra is an amazing commander for gathering resources, and her first skill is really interesting. It makes her possibly viable when there are huge groups of players. In this commander guide, we're going to break down the skills. We're going to talk about whether or not maybe a Cleopatra trap in a resource node is a thing. We'll talk about talents, how you should invest in these skills and in which order, and last but not least, possible pairings for fighting with Cleopatra, because we've got some ideas here that I think are kind of interesting. If you like commander guides, then you should like and subscribe. This is one of only a handful of commanders we have left to make a guide for. So if commander guides are your thing, that's something we bring. Woo, that rhymed. All right, wasn't intended. Let's get right into it. Cleopatra. She is a gathering commander. You're never going to use your universal sculptures on this commander. Do not do it. However, she is important to work on. We'll show you why. The first skill, and this is where we're starting to play around with the idea of like, could she be good in Arc League? Is that she heals for a healing factor of 400 for all nearby friendly armies. I don't see a cap here. So if there's no cap here, you could do a lot of healing. If you heal 10 marches, including your own, which is totally reasonable in Arc League, we're talking about 4,000 healing factor in total. 400 per march times 10. But if there's 20 marches, now it's 8,000 healing factor. See what I mean? But in addition, you give a defense bonus of 15% for 2 seconds. I mean, that's not very much, but okay, there's a little bit of extra perk there. P.S., just to be super clear on how this first skill works, when I'm talking about a healing factor of 4,000 or 8,000, it's still just healing factor of 400, but I'm multiplying that effectiveness by all the marches that you're healing, okay? So it's only healing factor 400, but if there's 10 marches total nearby, that's a total of 4,000 healing factor spread across all of those marches, 400 each, just to be clear. Now, the second skill, speaking of gathering, the second skill is going to increase your stone gathering speed by 30% and 20% for everything else. So obviously you're going to use her primarily for gathering stone. The next skill increases your troop load bonus by 50%. This actually is really important to talk about in the context of stealing resources, which Cleopatra is super good for. The next skill is a siege attack and defense bonus of 50% each when you are gathering at resource points. And last but not least, when you complete gathering in a resource node, not in the Alliance Resource Center, but when you finish a resource node, you don't even have to be the one that starts it, you just have to finish it, you get extra resource packs. Now, how many packs do you get exactly, and is it worth it? Well, I happen to have a few of those saved up in my reports. There they are. We finished a level 5 node and we got 50 resource packs. That's 50,000 extra resources. Those will be level C resource packs. I'll show you what those are. I think it's a blend of like all the different resources. When you complete a level 6 node, there we go, you get 70,000 extra resources because it takes longer, so they give you some more resources for that. Those resource packs, look, the level C's, they could be, 1,000 food, wood, 750 stone, or 500 gold. Decent boost to the resources you gain. Now, the expertise skill is going to take you a very long time to get because you're not going to use your universals on Cleopatra. Promise me you're not going to do that. Let's talk about the builds on Cleo, and just very importantly, you shouldn't use her as the primary. There's like nobody who spends enough in this game, except like Baba and a few others, that could have enough stars and experience tomes, and those resources should go other places rather than on this commander. Do not star up this commander past 4, okay? But you should be using them for gathering. This is the sort of build you would use for gathering at level 40. You're going all the way to superior tools and then getting modified axle for the extra march speed. I really like that. You start by making your way over to more the better first. Then you finish out the tree over here. And last but not least, you get this. That's the build I would recommend for Cleo. There theoretically could be a build where if you were to max her level, you could go into the support tree and try to make some sort of trap in a resource node using all siege units. You'd use Sundok as another commander to do that with. I feel pretty lukewarm on that idea, but it's a thing, maybe, sort of, kind of. It's pretty sketchy. When we talk about skilling up this commander, I would focus on the fact that they are a gathering commander. So you want to unlock the second skill before you apply any skill points. That's right. Unlock the second skill before you apply any skill points. Try to max the second skill before you proceed, and only after you've maxed the second skill should you proceed. If you want to be the 1 out of 30 players in an ARC team that maybe, sort of, maybe, kind of, maybe gets value. I mean, it's really a stretch, okay? From the first skill of Cleo, then you definitely want to make sure that you max the first and second skills before unlocking the third or fourth skills. Now, Cleopatra is a commander that is available to you in a number of ways. They're available in gold keys, and importantly, they are available to you in the Resource Reserves event, Strategic Reserve, here it is. And this event used to only award Cleopatra sculptures for the victors of this event. It now offers these pick one commander sculpture chests between Cleo or Sundok, so you can choose which of those commanders you need more, which is really quite amazing. I would have way fewer dead Cleo sculptures left over than I do right now if I could have used these over here. This event is a solid influx of sculptures. You're going to get these sculptures by virtue of gathering resources in the map, collecting them from your city, from the production points, and also battling barbarians. So if you can get that event to overlap with something like a Mighty Governor, that seems like a pretty solid kickback on rewards. Those supply boxes, by the way, have some amount of arrows of resistance if you're farming those up to work on your watchtower. However, the Lohar event is going to be better off for you if what you're really after is just the arrows of resistance. Plus, honestly, the Lohars give gear now when you rally them, which is a better bang for your buck. But with that said, you are going to want to eventually, over time, slowly expertise your Cleopatra so you get all those sweet goodies right over here for the extra resource packs. I mean, we've pulled down so many millions of extra resources from this. It's really quite remarkable. Now, one hack you can use to get a lot of extra resources is you can just send your Cleopatra to resource nodes that are almost finished, and you get the full value of the Gifts of the Nile. So you could have all 5 of your marches out gathering. The Cleo finishes first, then she goes to where another one was. She finishes that one off, right? And she can finish off all those marches, and you get a couple 100,000 extra resources out of the deal if you are micromanaging the heck out of your resource gathering. Now, I want to start to talk about the pairings, because this is where things get kind of wonky, and there's some stuff you can do that's pretty unexpected and kind of amazing with Cleopatra. We're going to talk about what some of those things are, and there probably are some better combos that are out there that I don't even know about. That's okay. This is still pretty cool. The first combo that I think is sort of an interesting idea for being in the open field in Ark of Osiris and doing a big benefit to all of your allies is Richard I. I don't know if the battle hardened, I guess that probably only works on his own troops, but if you use Richard I primary, Cleo secondary, bring all infantry, like nobody's going to attack your Richard, so your Cleo's just going to sit there healing everybody. The only problem is you don't generate enough rage. I think we can do better than a Richard I pairing. Now, if we continue on, not for Ark of Osiris, but for looting a player city, I use Hannibal Barca and Cleo. Now, that might sound crazy. Chisgule, why are you using Cleo? I use Cleo for the 50% extra load. That means I get 50% more resources holdable by my siege units. Kind of amazing. I also, by the way, am using Barca because he's a conquering commander. I actually have a build set up specifically for looting cities. This is it. Trying to get extra resources here. As many extra resources as I can. As many as I possibly can. Even when I got fresh recruits too. Right? So that pairing of Barca Cleo hit a city is kind of a thing that's pretty legit. Now, continuing on to some other pairings that I think would be kind of fascinating. If you want to be that one person that maybe considers, maybe, sort of, maybe, kind of considers bringing a Cleo, and that's Ethelfled Cleo. Ethelfled's going to power out a ton of skills. You wanted to debuff stuff with her anyways. People are going to focus down Ethelfled, which is the problem, but you are going to machine gun out those heals. And again, you got 10 marches nearby. Guess what? That's 4,000 healing factor every 7 seconds across all those marches. That's pretty legit. And you could run into a commander like Ethelfled, increase your own healing that you receive, so you get a little more benefit from that for your own march. Wait, hold on. I wanted to point to this. There it is, Elixir. And then also, counterattack is going to make it so you get a damage boost for 3 seconds after you get healed. So a pretty solid run-through overall if you wanted to go like this kind of a route for using Ethelfled and Cleo as a free-to-play. Again, I don't know that that's actually very good, but I am intrigued enough that, like, look, there are Arc League matches where you got 20 or 30 marches all in the center, and it's just crazy. And, 20 marches healed, that's 8,000 healing factor. That's kind of insane. 30 marches healed, 12,000 healing factor total, right? Assuming you're not overhealing and all the marches need a little something. Could be pretty good. If we continue onward to other commanders that I think could be kind of interesting pairings, there's one kind of other pairing that I want to talk about. And you could use, by the way, other conquering commanders like Mehmed to be looting a city. This, for me, and the use of Barca is just because, like, I have him. He's not really good for anything else at this point in the game. So, like, yeah, I use Barca for that. The other commander you could pair with is Sundok. And this gets into the sort of, like, could we make, like, a trap of some kind in a resource node? Because, 50% attack and defense is a ton of stats. And, Sundok has got a damage factor that she's doing, which is pretty cool. She's also got another 30% health and defense when you're gathering, which is a huge amount of stats. These days, I don't think it's going to be enough to make a siege trap. That also means that you had to have leveled one of them up to 6 stars, and, like, I just don't think you should do that, okay? I do not think you should do that. The other commander that I think is sort of noteworthy for this idea of an open field healing unit will be a Constantine primary. Now, Constantine's got the support tree. You get Rejuvenate. You go ham with that. You could do the same thing over here, getting counterattack and also Elixir to sort of benefit from getting the heals from Cleo. I think this is a combo that's maybe more cute than good. And you probably want to use somebody else with your, Constantine, who's just an amazing commander. Like, they probably ought to just be in the garrison. But if they're not in the garrison, they're in the field. Like, yeah, if you wanted to have the healing factor and defense from Cleo, that would be kind of an interesting idea. Constantine is already offering the 10% damage taken reduction, which is pretty legit. If we now start to enter into the realm of, like, okay, we're talking, like, heavy into the free-to-play realm. You don't even have an Ethelfled, or you're already using her for something else. You could pair with Joan of Arc and use them because she's got the support tree. You could do the same kind of thing that I've proposed with Ethelfled, and I think it would be pretty decent. Huge amount of healing, huge amount of buffing. You could bring sort of like 2 marches that are trying to do buffing and debuffing, right? Like, you could have Ethelfled paired with, I don't know, Barca secondary, and Joan of Arc paired with a Cleo secondary. Again, I think, it's more cute than good, but I kind of want to see it done. My friends, hopefully you have enjoyed this video where we're talking about the phenomenal gatherer, Cleopatra. We're long overdue for making this video. People ask me now and then, they're like, why don't you have a Cleo video? And I was like, why do people want to watch a Cleo video? But then I realized people want to know, how do you unlock her? Is it worth expertising her? The order you do the skills, all the same sort of stuff. So here we are, Cleopatra guide. And if you like commander guides, then you should like and subscribe. We will have guides for literally every single commander. So like and subscribe if that's what you're into. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.